Thank you. Now we will start our valedictory session. This session will be chaired by Shapna Bhattacharya, a retired professor of Department of South and Southeast Asian Studies, University of Calcutta, Honorable Advisor of KSAS. And in this session, our speaker will Selva Kumar P, Associate Professor, Department of Maritime History and Marine Archaeology, Tamil University. And in this session, our topic will be approaches and development of Bay of Bengal region and Asian interconnection, communities, agencies and ecology. Thank you. I would like to hand over the microphone to Shapna Bhattacharya ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, I think nice to see you. Yeah, I don't want to make. There is nothing to say. Professor Selva Kumar is a very renowned scholar, and I feel really honored to be flanked by another scholar, Professor Kollan Chakraborty, and I feel very humbled and of course honored and feeling of joy that right from the birth of this Kolkata Society for Asian Studies I am associated here. I remember again Professor Dilip Kumar Ghosh and IGNOU office in Maulana Azad College when we started, and I always try to give time. So without making further ado, I invite Professor Selva Kumar, who is actually, I must tell one thing, this is very important for the erudite audience, that for some, I think 7-8 years ago, when my very good friend and great scholar, Professor Shankar Vasudevan was in this world, in this mortal world, we were very good friends, very good colleagues, one of the best. And UGC actually nominated me and Hari Vasudevan as resource person to have a seminar on Cambodia, how the Austro-Asiatic people, the Mon people of Lower Burma, intercoastal area, right from Bengal to Dravidian sphere, central Thailand and Lower Burma, how they became marginalized, and that was one of the best events, and Professor Selva Kumar was there. So it is nice to see you again, and that was organized by Ancient Indian History Department. As you know, I was associated with so many departments of Calcutta University. So I remember that one. Thank you very much. Please start your deliberation. And thank you, Professor Chakraborty, for receiving me. I must also tell that I would not have come to anywhere had it not been this Calcutta Society, Kolkata Society. But I'm feeling quite perfect. I sent also a message to Soumitra that I'm coming on time. Please.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Shapna Bhattacharya, and I would like to thank this Kolkata Center for Asian Studies and also Dr. A.K. Chakravarti and Sharmista Devasu and other honorable members and delegates. I am indeed very happy to be here to be part of this 2-day seminar. I am an archaeologist basically and also a historian and working in maritime history and marine archaeology, and my special area is southern India. So the topic I am going to present today is slightly different. I am not entirely focusing on archaeology or history, but history forms a major component. Since the organizers asked me to present from a general perspective, so I have decided to refocus my presentation. My title is also slightly different from what you find in the abstract, because I've been thinking about this particular topic for more than a month, and I have come up with this presentation. The exact title of my paper is Approaches to the Development of the Bay of Bengal Region and the Study of its Cultural Interactions. Yeah, this is the presentation structure. It has been divided into 6 sections where I first focus on theoretical perspectives and second I am talking about Bay of Bengal region current initiatives and third is the historical antecedents, cultural geography and coastal ecology. Fourth section deals with political, economic and environmental issue. Fifth is about sustainable developmental perspectives and future direction towards the Bay of Bengal studies. And finally, conclusion. Okay, coming to this theoretical perspectives, I felt we need to look into some of the theoretical aspects, especially the indigenous perspectives of looking at the oceanscape, how people in ancient India saw this maritime space. As Gautam Sengupta pointed out yesterday, when you look at the ancient literature, we get clear reference to Eastern Sea, Western Sea and Southern Sea. In Tamil, it is known as Kunakadal and Kudakadal. So they were looking at the landscapes differently and they were constructing these lands. If you look at this terminology for India, we have the term Jambu Triba. Jambu refers to the jambolan or jambolan tree, and in Tamil it has been translated into Navalan Thivu. Naval fruit is the same as the jambu tree. And then we have also this concept of churning the ocean that has been there in our mythology. And kings always, if you look at the inscription, they have been trying to claim the Lord of 3 oceans. That has been their favorite perception. And then if you look at the early Tamil grammar work, Tolkappiyam, it talks about Neithal landscape as very distinct area where maritime trade dominates and coastal communities live. They make salt, they fish, and they have different types of watercrafts. They are very beautifully narrated, and that is how they see coast and coastal areas as one kind of landscape. The concept of Thinai is very important here. What I have tried to look into is this. It's not working. Okay, yes. Basically, indigenous epistemology. In several contexts, we need to look at the indigenous perspectives. We miss sometimes the Western perspectives or Eurocentric notions. They give a different kind of ideas. When we look at our old inscriptions and literature, we get to know how people were visualizing this particular landscape. Coming to this maritime history cannot be seen as something exclusive or isolated. When we look at history can be looked at a different level. Unfortunately, many of us are taught history from a national perspective, from a modern boundaries. I think history can be looked at different level. Each and every point has a history that in archaeology we call point provenance. Any point where a particular coin is found in an excavation. A place where Vasco da Gama landed or anything. Then history of individuals or anybody for that matter. We look at history of every individual, whether it is a beggar or a prostitute or any great personalities. And that is how we need to look at history. Then local and micro history, communities and village history. Then we have regional history of various tribe or communities. Then we need to look at history from a meta region. I think this is very important. We cannot just have a history of West Bengal. It should be history of Eastern India. Same way, we cannot have history of Tamil Nadu, history of Kerala, history of Andhra Pradesh, or Telangana or Maharashtra. we need to look at these broader metro regions as South India or Eastern India or Northern India, Western India as regions as important reason, because if you want to look at the Chola history, it was not confined to Tamil Nadu. Same Rashtrakuta, Chalukya, they were crossing the boundaries. So we need to literally throw away these modern boundaries. And another level, we need to look at Indian history from a South Asian perspective, from a broader level. And the final level, I have been always arguing in my research papers that we need to look at Afro-Eurasian history as an Indian Ocean world. It is not just Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean has no existence if there are no lands around. So ocean basically forms a kind of a lake where it enables frequent communication. That is where we need to look at African history. Sometimes we completely ignore this history and connectivity with Africa, East Africa, directly go for Indo-Roman or India, Southeast Asia. So these are all select perspectives. I don't argue that these are wrong. See, there could be multiple layers of perspectives. One, while looking at Indian Ocean, within that we can very well have India, Southeast Asia or India, Indo-Rome trade. And it is here we can develop Bay of Bengal as an alternative perspectives, about which I will be talking a little later. So we need to look at maritime history from a holistic perspective. The next point which I always mention in my lectures to the students, how we have fragmented the disciplines. We have fragmented the disciplines, but people live a whole life. They don't fragment their life into materiality or into literature, or these are the disciplinary boundaries created by us. So we need to cross beyond these disciplinary boundaries, and there are problems with the syllabi of the universities. And students tend to define archaeology as study of material remains, history, study of written documents. These are all very narrow disciplines, and we need to go beyond. And when we ask about the sources of history, most of the students, these 2-3 slides I put it mainly for the students of history. Most of the students tend to consider material remains and written record. But we need to center stage our own body, human body. How human body has become. In the morning there was a presentation on genetics. Human body is the most important source for history. We take it for granted. We never really problematize this, but now scientists and others problematize this. This is what we should tell students. The most important source for history is our own body and our own cognition. That includes language, culture, material culture, living oral traditions, place names, belief system and cultural context. So your parents and grandparents are biological archives, not only in terms of having genetics, but also the language and cultural capabilities and cognitive capabilities, which are very important. If you take human body, there are 2 important components. One is our physical structure, the way color has been also politicized. How do we appear? How do we look? If you look at our literature, you can very well see how our appearance and color has become a point of debate or point of description and narration. That is where I place human body as the most central source of history. Then this is the earliest source. Then comes text, verbal text, oral text, and then comes inscription and literature and written evidence. Then somewhere before written evidence we have material culture, the artifacts and things that were more manipulated by people. Then comes the most important context, which we take it for granted, the cultural, the landscape, oceanscape and landscape, including hills and rivers and plants and animals. They are also active participants. They are also sources for history. We take all these important we often ignore these aspects. It is where I feel we cannot just understand culture or history just by reading 100 books sitting in an AC room. This is where we need a kind of lived experience or immersive experience of understanding culture, where field work becomes very important. We cannot just understand culture by reading text or textbooks. So this I have applied from my own research as an individual very familiar with the lower Kaveri Valley in Tamil Nadu, the way I was grown up in a village with a lot of traditional information and knowledge that acquired from my own fathers and grandfathers, that has helped me in interpreting the formation of state and urbanization. So I can very well understand how some of the interpretations of state as well as urbanizations are very imagined. So this helped me to visualize how India has transformed from the late 1970s, where these memories are very vivid in my mind, and I try to correlate with what I read through text. I think this process is very important. This is what archaeologists, we are often deal with what you find on the right extreme end, and you have live chicken and tandoori chicken and the bones. This is what we get. Now the task of archaeologists is to move from this end to that end. This is where I think the lived experience or immersive experience, ethnography and historical text, they become very important. And I have I talk about another important concept, the process of visualization. I think it's very essential for historians and archaeologists as well as anybody who is writing a novel. What is visualization? The process of correlating real life, real world and living immersive experiences, environment and cultural existence with the text, oral, ethnographic narratives and material culture. So I think this is a very important process where we try to give meaning to those material culture. When we find an inscription, when we find a record, when we find anything, unless you use all these components and visualize, you will not be able to make meaning of this. This is where I think this process is very essential for students of history as well as others for making meaning of different source categories of evidence. And again, it takes some time. Old frameworks, as I said already, we have been talking about national boundaries, and we have used old frameworks to look at India, Southeast Asia, India, Indo-Roman trade, and these perspectives have completely, changed now. We are talking about Indian Ocean exchange. We will be giving more importance to Roman connection rather than connection with within the Bay of Bengal. For example, we have several publications on in archaeology related to early historic East Coast. There, people always, if you look at Wheeler's excavation report, Arikimedu and Indo-Roman trading station, that was published in 1947. And then came another report in 2005 by Tamil Nadu State Archaeology. That title, they said, Arkankulam and Indo-Roman trading station. So this is where I see we need to decolonize and move away from the Eurocentric perspectives. So there we have a lot of affection or a kind of subjective affinity to the Roman coins, subjective affinity or higher value attributed to amphora, foreign shards. What is these foreign shards? So we give a special kind of value because they are from further area. This is where we need to base these kind of consumption, look into conceptions and look into the interaction within Bay of Bengal. If you look at some of these ceramics on the East Coast, we find a lot of evidence for interaction with the Bengal coast. very few people. I have published a paper in Samuel Berthet edited volume published in 2018. He wrote about Bangladesh and other northern Bay of Bengal, in which I have highlighted some of these perspectives. So this is where the Bay of Bengal study becomes very important. We are looking at the regions from a very neutral perspectives. So here we are mainly dealing with the past. See, we need to have two different approaches when we are talking about contemporary period, international relations, geopolitics and strategic studies. That is entirely different ball game. But what we are doing is we are trying to look at the ancient kind of regional understanding. This is where I think Bay of Bengal region becomes very important. As I said already, these categories of Indo-Roman, India, Southeast Asia, they are valid, but at another level we should work on this particular aspects. This is what I would like to stress here. Same way, any Bengali or Tamil, they have a Bengali identity or Tamil identity and Indian identity or East India. Same way, these studies can also have multi-scalar or multiple levels. And here we should adopt a regional approach in the sense Tamil Nadu or Kerala, Tamilakam, Andhra, Orissa, Bengal coast, Bangladesh or Myanmar, and that can be regional. Second could be a river valley approach. See, when we talk about, we are all writing history within a state or national framework. We try to look at Myanmar and Bangladesh as and also Thailand as separate entities. When it comes to this area, East Coast, we see this as India. So this is where, in order to move away from these disciplinary, narrow geographic boundaries, I would say we can adopt a river valley approach, where if we take these river valleys, they can definitely give us a new understanding, because these coastal areas, they were not standalone. They had a huge interland. They had a foreland. So coastal areas were basically connecting the fatherland and the hinterland. This is where we can have a river valley approach. If you take a river valley approach, we can have Bengal serving to the entire Ganga delta to another level. At another level, we can have regional when we deal with the medieval period, because we have regional kingdoms like Cholas, Palas, and other kings who had created Shatavahanas, their own entity. This is where we can adopt. And third is the network approach. When we talk about network approach, it connects hinterland networks and overseas networks. So, so looking at these connectivities from these perspectives can really help us in comprehending the connectivity within the Bay of Bengal. This Bay of Bengal region, I am giving some basic facts, you know very well. See, this Bay of Bengal region mainly includes Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and Thailand. And we should also include this Maldives and other region, Indonesia as part of it. And this is a map showing the region, just to give an idea. And already, we have several government and state-sponsored organizations like ASEAN, SAARC, and BIMSTEC. They have been doing a lot of work in creating this connectivity. So what I am trying to argue is that we need to go beyond these kind of initiatives, and the universities need to create some kind of networking, and this network can really help us in building connections and undertaking more meaningful studies. Yesterday, I think even Dr. K.K. Chakrabarti very beautifully talked about this civil society's participation and academicians, that they should have more role. This is history of BIMSTEC. I will not go much into the detail, and these are the 14 area of terms of cooperation and revised area of their cooperation where they are focusing on trade and development, environment, climate change, security. These are all very much contemporary aspects. These are the studies that are being undertaken on this Bay of Bengal region currently. Now I will come to the third part of my presentation, historical antecedents and cultural geography and coastal ecology. Here we have a lot of evidence for historical interaction. Actually, it started in the prehistoric period. In the morning there was a presentation on the dispersion of various communities, Austroasiatic, Austronesian, and these kind of genetic studies can give us a better understanding of the prehistoric movement. If you look at very carefully some of the Tamil terms for watercraft, for example, Banka and Pragu, these two terms have a lot of parallel with Southeast Asian terms. These terms are prevalent in Indonesia and Philippines. That is wonderful. And French scholars, Manuel, he studied these terms. He strongly believes some of these technologies are associated with the Austronesian. So these probably that is why we have similar terms. Whatever we have in the early Tamil literature dating to 1st to 3rd century CE, they are all the residues of what prevailed in the prehistoric area, prehistoric period. We need to undertake more research, and that is not my specialist area of understanding, so I will not go into the detail. But definitely we have evidence of maritime interaction. For example, I can tell you in the case of Western Indian Ocean region, actually we are dealing with the Eastern Indian Ocean region, which is equivalent to the Bay of Bengal region. We have evidence of the earliest use of pepper from the mummy of Ramses II, dated to 1213 BC, which scholars say that went from southern India, but there are no scientific studies to prove. Definitely scholars are increasingly arguing that these maritime interactions started in the 2nd millennium BC. We talk about Harappans and Harappans' connections with Mesopotamia, but we hardly talk about Harappans' connections with the southern part of Southeast Asia or beyond. It is a possibility. And again, there are 27 Phoenician jars with cinnamon residue. This has been published by Grigori Namdar. They were found in the state. They have traces of cinnamon and they are dated to 900 BCE. And these strongly suggest a Southeast Asian connection through South India to Israel, that region around 900 BC. These evidences are very important, but these are scanty evidence. But from about 500 BCE, we have very strong evidence for interactions, and we have evidence of Buddhism spreading. Buddhist network is very strong along the entire east coast and Southeast Asia. That becomes a very important area of investigation. Then from 100 BCE, we have another phase of intensive Roman trade beginning, and we get all these settlements are very visible. One thing I understand, somewhere before 100 BCE, there was some sea level fluctuation, which has been suggested by several kind of research work. That is why we are not able to pinpoint the coastal side. Whatever we are getting, scholars have argued somewhere around 2300 there was some stability of the current coast. Maybe if we want to understand the interaction before, we need to undertake underwater explorations. That I will be suggesting again later. So from 100 BCE, the sites becomes very prominent. We have a lot of Jataka stories, Jataka tales, and so many other literature talking about these maritime interactions. We also have material evidence connecting India and Southeast Asia. We have evidence of architecture, everything, a lot of material. And we also have evidence of much later in the medieval period. We have connections, the Nalanda copper plate connecting Srivijaya and the Pala region. Similarly, Rajendra Chola's invasion, and also we have Sinhalese king there invading Burma, and in that region, that is described in literature. So we have also surviving traditions like Bali Jatra, which is prevalent in Orissa. So I am not going to present entire thing, I am just trying to give some brief outline. And also we have colonial period, wherein we get lot of documents that is quite vast, especially the colonial documents are very important because they give a beautiful narration of the textile industries and so many commodities that were traded. We don't have all these information available in our own literature. So therefore the Portuguese and Dutch and Danish documents are very important, and British document and French documents, they tell us the maritime scenario. That is why these colonial documents are very useful for understanding the earlier period. We have also a lot of Arab sources talking about the interactions in this period. And now I will start with our own research. This is one Neolithic site I excavated near Coimbatore. It is very close to the Malkar Gap. We found 3 human skeletons. One is a lady of middle-aged lady, and very interestingly, the skeleton of this lady had certain shell beads. We have dated this site to 1600 to 1400 BCE. In addition to that, we also have small shell beads and also cut piece of Terminella pyrum. These are some of the important evidence, and similar evidence has also been reported all along the Deccan area and all over South India. And this one is Oliva sp shell. This is perhaps the earliest evidence in Tamil Nadu, and they were used by the southern Neolithic people. So what is important here is around in the middle of the 2nd millennium BC, these networks connecting the coastal and the hinterland area became very strong. These people considered shell as something sacred because it was a rare material in such a context. And this is the Olivas sp modern specimen. How they look, they just knock at the top and then make it as a bead. This particular Oliva species has been used as for ornament all across Asia. Several sites it has been found, and this is a very important find we got. Another thing is, see, this is a freshwater shell in which these Neolithic people created a fish pendant. You can see the mouth of the fish and its eye and the hole through which they were wearing it through thread as a kind of pendant. On the right you can see the scales. They have very beautifully carved on this shell. This is another important find, and these are all dated to the Neolithic period. Then we have Iron Age burials where we have lot of shell objects. The Iron Age people were wearing different kinds of shell objects, especially Terminella pyrum. This one is from Kerala, where we found a canoe. This is perhaps the earliest canoe made of single log of wood, and it was found nearby a wharf-like structure. The wharf is very interesting. It has brick lining, and in this, yesterday I mentioned about the use of lime and the laterite mixed platform. So this is what this is one of the earliest evidence for the use of lime in the construction or flooring, and that both has been dated to, canoe has been dated to 1st century BC and CE. It is in this context we found coconut shell, lot of organic remains. We found even grape seeds, wheat, they are all mentioned in the Periplus text. So this is one important evidence related to the maritime activity. This is another watercraft. This is dated to 13th-14th century. It's a flat bottom watercraft excavated at Kadakarapalli in Kerala, in which I worked along with Kerala State Archaeology Department and Dr. Lucy Blue's students. We excavated this site, and this is one rare specimen of a watercraft which gives us an idea of the technology that was prevalent during that time, which indicates some of the technologies which were used, which are still used in Southeast Asia and Indonesia, which is known as lashed lug technology, in which they use ropes for tying it around. Another important component here is the use of iron nail, especially if you look at the Indian text of Yukti Kalpataru composed by Raja Bhoja, which talks about the bad effects of iron nails, which they say that when you sail in the sea, there are magnets which will pull off the nails, and you cannot use iron nail. But here they have used both the technology. They have used iron rivets as well as this latch like using ropes. We are also, I am also working in some of the sites in the Tamil Nadu coast. This is a stone anchor of Indo-Arab type, which we found at the site of Periyapattanam. Periyapattanam is referred to in the Chinese text as Damhadan, and this site has a lot of evidence for multiple religious communities. Recently they found an inscription, 13th-14th century. It talks about Anjuvanam. It clearly talks about a Christian church and a Jewish synagogue. And also it talks about Sonaka Samantapalli. Sonaka refers to Arab mosque. So all these existed around 13th-14th century on the east coast. So you have a lot of evidence for these diverse communities of traders and meeting along the South Indian coast. And then another important thing is about the shell working. In Tamil Nadu, especially in the Gulf of Mannar area, is very famous for shell working. I am working on the shell workers of Tamil Nadu, and very interestingly, before this conference, I visited Vishnupur and we made some documentation here. They all report they get this Carpinella pyrum from Tamil Nadu coast. If you look at some of the excavated sites in Tamil Nadu, we get these shell right from Iron Age, say 1000 BCE onwards. We get shell, and especially in the early historic time, we get tons and tons of these Carpinella pyrum cut shells in all the early historic sites, mainly Arikimedu, Arakankulam and Korkai. Korkai is very close to Sri Lanka, Gulf of Mannar, and that is narrated very beautifully in Tamil literature also. This Tamil text mentioned that these people were some kind of Brahmins. It says Vela Papa, the Brahmins who do not perform sacrifice, that is fire sacrifice. That is something very interesting. They also talk about the tools that they use for cutting, and this is one area apart from related where this shell trade between Tamil Nadu coast and Bengal has been one important area for connection. We find a lot of sites with shell. So we get, I just took about shell, we get a lot of evidence for watercrafts and everything. I have not gone into the details. And this biological regions, we have several areas, Chilika Lake, Pulikat Lake, and Sundarbans and Pichavaram, and also this Gulf of Mannar has been declared as a biosphere reserve. And this area is very important because we get diverse varieties of shells. Because the water is very shallow, it is very ideal for coral and shell and so many other material. Right. These are the basic statistics. I will not repeat. So we get all these mangrove forests, coral reefs, seagrass bed, and everything. Yeah, I will quickly. And Pichavaram mangrove forest. This is very important. We have Kodiakare, the Point Gallamere just opposite to Sri Lanka, and this is a very interesting structure found near Kodiakare. Some people call it as a Chola period lighthouse. Nobody has done any kind of research on that. This is one important structure found in that area, and also we have a lot of sacred shrines very close to these coasts, like Chidambaram temple, which is very close next to the backwater area. We have Velangani Basilica, created during the colonial period. We have the Dargah of Sufi saint at Nagpur, near Nagapattanam. We have Rameshwaram temple. See, very beautifully, and these Indians believed in these kind of places where the waters meet, like Sangamam or the tip of land. Very clearly mentions about Kanyakumari. It talks about the goddess who was virgin, Kanyakumari, living at Kanyakumari, where people from different parts of India come and take sacred dip. So Rameshwaram is also an important area where people travel and take, and you know about the story about Ramasetu and problems with the Saint Samudram project. Kaveri Pumbuttanam, another important coastal site. We have a Buddhist monastery, and then we have a lot of industrial activities taking place, and this fishing industry that has changed. We have been doing documentation in Kanyakumari of this traditional watercraft and how these people are making these crafts, how they are fishing, and just quickly showing the images and how they catch. That we documented. Lack of time, I will quickly go through. This is one of our studies. We work with the fishermen, trying to understand their traditional knowledge. We also made some. This is my student working on doctoral research. The person on the left is a boat maker. He has made a Mallam and Kattumaram, which you can find on the right side. So he has made it according to the scale. He is one of the few persons who is making it. After tsunami, everything has changed. People no longer use them. They all go for molded fiber boats. Then I am coming to this political, economic, environmental issue. As yesterday itself, one of the speakers mentioned about the strategic importance of this Bay of Bengal. There are several economics, environmental issues. I will not go into the details. And again, climate change and vulnerability of the coastal areas and unplanned urbanism. We have very bad flood in Chennai in 2016 and 2023, and Tirunelveli also. They attribute all that to El Nino effects. And earlier people thought that if you have a ground floor house in Chennai, it's a luxury. Now after the recent floods, nobody wants to live in a ground floor house, because what really happened was within the past 10 years people went on building. They were not allowing the water to go. So basically it has come into their bedrooms. So it was a very bad experience. It is one area where we need to work. And coming to the sustainable development perspectives, I would like to offer some suggestion. Networking of institutions, universities, NGOs, and we need to have more conferences and workshop training programs, and we need to conceptualize Bay of Bengal as a cultural region, and we need to talk about Bay of Bengal interactions. Here one has interaction among the regions, communities of Bay of Bengal. Then at the second level, interactions of Bay of Bengal with Southeast Asia and East Asia, including China. Third, interaction of Bay of Bengal with the Western Indian Ocean, East Africa, Europe. I think it is from these three levels we need to conceptualize this interaction. I have identified some 12 priority areas for research. One is strategic studies, security and geopolitics. I will not highlight this. Economics, commercial and trade interactions, and then research and development, coastal underwater resources. There are several works trying to recover rare earth elements. Recently, Chinese ships came to Sri Lanka, research ship, and there was so much of news in the Indian media, how they were spying and a lot of things we must have studied. This is one area, modern harbors and industries, and this is Sterlite copper plant which has been giving a lot of trouble and a lot of issues going on. And here we see this disaster management preparedness. I said, if we had these 2004 tsunami happened in 1950s, we would not have built Kalpakkam and Kodagulam very close to the coast. We would have thought twice. And how this experience has changed our understanding. Similarly, environment, ecology, climate change initiatives. And second is working with Indian diaspora, the important software power. If you see the amount of tourists going to Thailand and Malaysia, recently both the countries have announced visa-free travel. And this has been boosting the trade. If you go to Chennai, this Ranganathan Street, you can see a lot of people from Sri Lanka come mainly for shopping. Similarly, this Indian diaspora, they have been very active, in interacting. I have attended 2-3 conferences. I'm in Malaysia, and they have been one of the factors, supporting the development. Next is historical archaeological research. As I said, I will summarize again culture, languages, and literature, oral tradition, that is another area. Museum and heritage networks. We have not done enough for archaeological museum. The government constituted a committee, but nobody could develop a museum. Similarly, as part of Project Mawsum, we need to do more. And underwater archaeology and shipwrecks. This is one area I mentioned about submerged sites, and then another priority area is that urbanization and industrial development, labor migration. This is where we have a lot of labor moving from Bengal and Assam into Tamil Nadu. So that is also an area for research. We cannot just stop ourselves with history. We also need to look at how things are happening in the contemporary period. Finally, I am coming to the conclusion. I have already mentioned all the points. You can read by yourself. How it is important to have civil society deliberations and this cross-cultural, cross-regional knowledge sharing and learning from experience. And this is something very important. Again, when we talk about modern period, as I said, the state has nation states, they have a bigger role to play, and their policies are very essential. But beyond that, there are academics can really do in undertaking research and understanding culture. This is where I would say we need to deconstruct our perspectives and colonize our minds in understanding way of Bengal better. Thank you. Sorry if I have taken more time.
Yeah. So first of all, very heartfelt and sincere thanks to you. I am more or less acquainted or familiar to some extent with your research, because I normally buy a lot of books in which primers, and then your network for some time. I wanted to make, and then I want Kulanda also to say a few words, that will be very nice, because after all, Kulanda is our, Professor Kulanda Chakraborty is one of our major inspiration. Now I am very happy to see Dr. Rita Bhattacharya here, and who has been also a very, very active and busy person. And my students are there. This is what makes me very happy. And now I would like to make a few points. First, very concrete on your deliberation. First of all, this concept of Jambudipa. This is, of course, is in Myanmar a very, very, very familiar Jambudipa. Whoever the king, he is the king of ruler of Jambudipa. You know, Michael Charney has written also articles. Burma study is very, very, very vast, and so. So this is the Dravidian, Austric and Sanskritic people brought the structure of, I wouldn't like to say civilization. Every civilization is great. The concept of kingship, concept of authority, concept of law, dhammata, so this has been reflected especially in French historiography. As you know, many of you may know that French had a lot of interest in the Mon country, Lower Burma. Now I give you some very important points for my students again, or whoever wants to know more. Recently, Shama Prasad Mukherjee Foundation organized an international virtual conference on 20 years of Mekong Ganga. And they selected me one of the speakers besides Professor Shahustra and Baladash Koshal and other great scholars. So I felt quite happy and to share my thoughts. I asked a question there, and now you can see it also. Why the Mon country or Lower Burma ports declined? This is a very important question. Yesterday when I was listening to Shuchandra's, I had to go because I was not feeling well, but I listened also. Shuchandra asked a very important, raised a very important concept of this jar, Martaban jar. You know, Martaban jar business was very active between the Mughals and the Lower Burma. This is something of totally virgin area for Indian historians. Now, another scholar whom I greatly remember, I met him at the age of 96. He was this great Nagaswami. He came to Dhaka 2019, and that particular Professor Ramul Haq is also no more there in this world. And Professor Nagaswamy gave such an interesting article in the volume itself, which was dedicated to him. Professor Ramul Haq dedicated that volume. And Nagaswamy wrote Vanga and Tamil. And now I bring some few scholars, and Professor Ratna Basu is here, my very good friend, professor friend and great scholar, Professor Ganguly. Rinal Babu was at my university, and Sharmani was at Jadavpur, but we are working together in Center for Bangladesh Studies, where I have recently given also a long article on the, I don't use the word Rohingya, Rakhine Muslims and Myanmar. Now I want to come back to Nagaswamy and his works. Then also the works of Suniti Kumar Chatterjee in his 3 volumes, Origin and Development of Bengali Language. And then I bring another great scholar whose name you must be knowing, but you don't know that he is my own uncle, because normally I don't bring my family in the formal gathering. He is great Parvati Charan Bhattacharya, who wrote Shabdet Jagat and Gatha Saptashati. His Meghdut Porichoy is being now going through 6th edition. And all students, whoever are students of Sanskrit, they know also Gatha Saptashati and Bangla Bhasha and Shabdet Jagat. And he was a student of Suniti Kumar Chatterjee. If you go through Suniti Kumar Chatterjee's book and now Parvati Charan's book, you will see how many examples they have given through this ethno-linguistic method, how words from Tamil and Telugu. You know, the Gatha Saptashati, he was the Shatabhana, that Hala, Shatabhana. Gatha Saptashati was one of my uncle's books. So what I wanted to say is this intercoastal connection which you have within your own time reflected very much is highly appreciated. And another point which I also want to appreciate is why we are doing this. I am very happy that I am a free person. I am a free person. I want to die also as a free person. So right from the beginning of my career in Calcutta University, which I have not mentioned, it was 86, all whoever was in power in Delhi or whoever king thanked it, and army people, naval people, they read my books. I said, why? Because you pointed out some interesting point, and that is your point also. You have stressed it, that's why I want to congratulate. Why we are doing this? Now, here, I would like to say that, that for us, one of the neighbors is our economic competitor, which is fine, should be there, but at the same time also a threat, or if not a challenge. Now, it was actually a land-bound power, because the Mongols themselves oust the Chinese. Now, they always wanted to come down. And this is why I have pointed out yesterday that between the Rakhine State, and I really appeal those who are interested to read Rakhine State book. India-Myanmar relation book was published back in 2007. But Rakhine State, there is a chapter on Mizos and Myanmar, Mizos and Rakhine State Chittagong Hill Tract. And that is strategically very important. That book has been, my book has been published by Maulana Azad Institute, as well as Jain, Mr. Jain, Ramesh Jain, Manahar. So it was also reviewed in the Statesman. And I wanted to include this, and they were very happy, because we have to see this, why we are doing this. And now, Indian Navy is very powerful, and you have addressed the challenge in the Sri Lanka, and that challenge has been reconciled, has been answered. I am very happy, and it has nothing to do with politics. You know, when this policy started with our 2006, even earlier, you know, and there is a and it started even back from Nehru, and there is a continuity, and we should be very careful that we exploit our knowledge in the interest of our nation and our nation's security and prosperity, shared prosperity. And another thing with that I will say, you have also rightly mentioned that range from Maldives. There is a German word, because I was trained in Southeast Asian studies, as you know, by none other than Hermann Kulgan. I was fortunate enough to sit in the lectures of Bishop and, you know, Professor Sarkisians and great scholars, you know, who were there. There is a word in German language, and Ratna Basu is also very good. She had her PhD also from University of Bonn, which has the oldest, or one of the oldest seat for Bengalogy, inter-Indian, whatever is. So India was in the middle, further Indian and inter-Indian. Whenever you take a book, and I have many books, you know, everyone present here are welcome to visit me and my library. And National Geography, back when my father was there, built up science department, some of you know him as Devida. He used to bring this National Geography. And National Geography, there is always such fascinating articles. Yeah, this was the only journal those days which brought, and I was really only maybe 6 years old or so. But my father always trained me so that I take up such studies which go beyond India. Otherwise, my brothers and sisters are all scientists, as Rita also know. And I wanted to Armenia know my Shantiniketan-based family. So what I wanted to say is that Tamil language, there is one word Bilu. Bilu means demon in Tamil. Bilu is still active in Myanmar language. So, you know, the Western country people, for a very long time, I regularly was invited in Burma Study Conference and workshop in Netherlands. And they are all fine, they are all nice, and the first thing they do is they learn Bangla, because it's part of the curriculum. And we think that look, China has owned the entire world by Chinese. They just are interested in the knowledge world. And if we just blame China, we cannot win anything. We have to make friendship with everyone, yeah? But we should be very clear about our national interest and national policy. Again, I say that I don't belong to any group, any party, any lobby, anything. My commitment, nation above everything. I am in history department, colleagues say, Shopnadi, you are a true Gandhian. I don't know whether I am Gandhian, I don't want to be called Gandhian, I am not so great. This is another word, Tirpul. You know Tirpul, it's a Tirpul, it's a Tamil word, Tirpul. And there is so much of politics among one group of Burma scholars who hate India or don't want to see anything Indian. They would say, why Tirpul? Piu, Piu, Piao. Chinese people say Piao. I mean, who are the Piaos? They were driven by the Han Chinese. And then they came down in Thailand, and then the Chinese, and thank God the Shan people took Buddhism. Yeah? So, Tirpul. But look at Luce, you know, Luce is such a great scholar that he stayed back in Burma till 1962. And I am very happy that Burma now, because I worked, as you know, Professor Shuranjan Das always, and Professor Vasudevan always said that Shopnadi should be always there in the room. And so I never wanted from anyone anything, but they always wanted that we build up this. So Burma is an open country. Today, not today, they have opened the archive, they are wonderful people, and there are so many Tamil still living in Burma, and the entire Mon country, Molami. In Molami is full of Tamil, and the largest Indian population in Southeast Asia is not in Malaysia, it's in Myanmar. You have to reconcile, you have to respect a state, and then don't mix up. I mean, Shopshmai student body in Bengali, I don't know, I should speak in English, that there are many think tanks, many good scholars, think tanks and ambassadors. You do your work. You don't have to think about how this problem or that problem will be solved. Yeah, you write, the entire world will come at your door. So this is actually my message to my students, and I think we should read Nagaswami's work, we should reread works by Shuhiti Chatterjee and those who are familiar with Bengali, because my uncle has mostly written on, even on Sufism, mostly in Bengali. But there are so many Bengali, Dravidian roots of Bengali works. So I thank you again that you, especially for two things, the pan-Indian or pan-Pacific paradigm that you wanted to trust upon, and Roman. I mean, European history I also studied. Europe was also land-bound. Why after the fall of Rome, why the Second Roman Empire came to Turkey and not going deep into Europe? So Europe itself was so late Christianized. So this is my, India was always a maritime, and Indian people, Indian army, Indian navy, Indian scholars have best of relation with all the neighboring countries. So with this positive note, I am wishing you all the best, and you are always welcome to my house. My husband is also a teacher, and his great teacher was Amalesh Chaudhary, who passed away. He was the marine science. He was very famous. He was really fascinated. He was so much respected for this, for his interest. Till the last date, he took up teams to Sundarban and Digha. Thank you very much, and now I give the
Well, distinguished guests, it has been a wonderful journey. It is absolutely astonishing that a small handful of scholars in the Kolkata Society for Asian Studies have been able to put together such a seminar at such short notice. And they have assembled people from all disciplines, and there has been an interdisciplinary dialogue across natural and social sciences, as I requested, to bring objectivity in social sciences and human care in natural sciences. The question is, where do we go from here? The objective was not to have a seminar, but to read the theme forwards into the future. Now, as I recall the discussions of the last 2-3 days, now one of the things that our Selva Kumar couldn't mention, didn't have the time, about the T9. And he has worked with me along with his wife Darshana at the agency over the same theme about 2 decades earlier. And T9, the biospheric division of the area, is also a joining of interior and exterior, Kurinchi and Betchi, and Akam and Puram. So this is what has been done here also, a combination of ethos and pathos, passion and intelligence, tourism and imagination. And that is what we need for looking at this entire area, not only physical cartography or artifacts, but also the mental envelope and the folklore and the intangible heritage. A few observations on the areas which could be mentioned in future. One is this omission of the importance of artifacts also. For instance, cord impressed for pottery, shouldered cells, and deep water, waterlogged rice ecosystems, which link Northeast India and Southeast Asia. That has not really found mention. And there are specifics like Dongsan pottery and Hoabinhian industry, Pleistocene and Holocene period, in which there have been lithic assemblages, unifacial and circumferential cobble reduced debitage. It has been there all over Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia. So Northeast India and Southeast Asian connection should be explored a bit more. And so in the same way, the Himalayan trade, Garhwal, agro-pastoral, mixed mountain farming of the Bhutan, Sikkim, and these adjacent areas, and the outlying areas of Southeast Asia. So that also should be studied a little more. Now, as far as ethnography is concerned, I mean, there was mention about Austronesian dispersal, and I had mentioned the fact that there has been expeditions from Sumba Island, Indonesia, to Australia using handmade rafts, and thereby it was found feasible to negotiate the waters in a few days on a handmade raft like that. And so, in the same way, the rock art in Australia, be it Ayers Rock and Alice Springs, etc., or in India, Bhimbetka and other regions, and also very little rock art in Bengal, but there is rock art in Northeast India. And so the connection that there are certain bioneurological constants which rule the imagination and the vision and also guide the hand. That could be examined. Then in ethnographic terms, even if you look at the contemporary settlement of the Chinese at Tiretta Bazaar, or which began with the sugar factory at Bajbaj, and the terms of Chini and you see Chinamati, etc. Lion dance and dragon boat dance, which are still in vogue here. So there is a need for ethnographic research and walking back in time, even within the city of Kolkata, and that would be, I think, rewarding. And then also these, in linguistic terms, I mean, the great Suniti Chatterjee's book was mentioned, Kirata Janapriti, and there is a lot of follow-up which needs to be done after that book. Rehearsals, linguistic survey of India, which also marginalized, I mean, some of the nomadic and genotype tribes, I mean, which figured largely in this area. And then the iconography and iconology has not been looked at very much. Shiva's transformation as Bhatara Guru in Southeast Asia, the Shiva-Buddha confluence in Indonesia, the Shiva-Avalokiteshvara confluence and feminization in Central Asia. I mean, there are 12,400 artifacts lying on Dunhuang in the National Museum, which remains to be studied in 24 scripts, etc. So that is a task which has to be undertaken. Most of the scripts are not read, and the vast terrain of knowledge remains uncharted. So that has not been done. I was there for a brief while. I initiated the bit of it, but it has not happened. Glazed ceramics from Indonesia and other pattanas, I mean, which have been discussed, pattanas, ceramics, and the so that also is an area which has not been discussed. Then textiles have not been discussed. The resist dyeing styles, the ikat textiles, and they have not figured in the discussion. Then, so far as the geoarchaeology is concerned, that was also a topic on the table. At the Castile, we have done the geohydrological survey of this region, and it's basically on the fluvial history. And along with the fluvial history, the tributaries and the landforms, I mean, these mud flats and swamps, they also have been studied. But the like the Maoris have done in New Zealand, they have combined ground truthing with land search survey. So unless that is done, the validation of the GPS results will be awaited. And so that is also necessary, which is a task which you have to undertake. And in terms of geoarchaeology, it has to be also validated by local history, because the reach to valley approach in fluvial history needs to be also corrected by indigenous knowledge systems, and much of which lie between the ridge and the valley and along the water veins, and that remains to be that knowledge remains to be established. As regards Sundarban, one remembers that Sundarban with the Badaban and the sea surge has been an area of concern, and especially with the invasive, you see, fishing trawlers, etc. the erosion of the ring embankment has taken place. So basically it is an ecological issue. How to deal with the divide between the ecosphere people and the bioprospectors. And the bioprospectors are everywhere, and if we want to deal with them, we need to put in these breaks with the help of local communities across this entire area. The Steelwell Road did not take off. The 32-lane highway did not take off. The BRI may not take off, but whatever happens, the Indo-Pacific and the Australasian dispersal and the connection with this area needs to be revisited, along with the cosmology, along with the folklore, along with the ceramic and the lithic assemblages, and aligned with ethnographic research. I mean, I don't want to say anything more because it's not a matter for words, it's a matter for action. And I am absolutely confident that this wonderful little group, which has empowered itself by bringing together so many outstanding scholars from all over the world, they will find their way to joining hands with the people on the ground who are trying to align action with contemplation. Thank you very much.
I think it is not enough to thank you. I mean, it is more than thanks because you have really explored before us Barbary, new hydraulic aspect, and there is also a hydraulic society, and all these points are well taken and respected. Before I really end this session, I just wanted to tell you that when you refer to Sri Lanka and Myanmar, I think better example would be Kalyani inscription of Dhammachedi, where actually 14 pilgrims not bhikshus, were sent to Sri Lanka for reformation, for reform, because it was too corrupt. So I think when you bring that example is better, because this is very important. And to Professor Kollam Chakraborty's the South Bengal and connection, recently I was going through Pratim Mukherjee's book, Bangali Bharatvarsho. I found that he just very shortly mentioned that in Chandraketugarh he got some specimens of Kharashti, and he was just very interested, and then because Kharashti is from the Africa. So I think this is very important, and then Gandhari Prakrit and all that. I mean, it is a vast land where so many, as Professor Kollam Chakraborty rightly said, so many kinds of people jostled together, and they had to accommodate each other. I think the story of consensus and harmony should come out from that. I mean, I am already above 70, so I normally don't go to formal things. I think this is my message to my students again. I mean, I am really in the midst of very senior scholars, so I wanted to say. And I want to thank formally Selva Kumar, who has taken this initiative. I think if you have such noble missions, I think you will get grants from everywhere, and that happened also before. It has nothing to do with the present establishment. You are from the different state, but there are national forums also. I think that this is very important that we should try to do this, because shipwreck is a theory which we have also not. Muslims of Burma, Moshe Yeager's only book on Muslims of Burma. G.D. Hall is saying that from lower, from South India to Southeast Asia, Burma is too up, yeah, it is not on the maritime, yeah, it is true, but there are so many unofficial, fishermen, pilgrims, yeah, and shipwrecks, and then we settled in Burma. We wrote about that also. So we have to explore all these unofficial but very authentic sources and in regional languages as well. Yeah, thank you very much. As I say that I really enjoyed this session. Unfortunately, I had to leave yesterday, but I sent a message that I should be coming in on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we will start vote of thanks. That's why I like to call Rita Bhattacharya, ma'am. Please.
On behalf of Kolkata Society for Asian Studies, I, Dr. Rita Bhattacharya, is really happy to take this responsibility to give you vote of thanks. 2 days, India, Basin and Bay of Bengal interactions pair, Pan-India and Pan-Asian contacts. On this topic, 8 sessions was there, and apart from this 8 session, inauguration and valedictory was there, total 10. So really, we are very happy to ending this seminar. Honorable Chairperson, esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, as we draw the curtains on this intellectually stimulating conference, I am honored to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each participant for invaluable contribution for the success of this event. Apart from you, it was not possible. We are really grateful to you. First and foremost, I express my sincere appreciation to our chairperson, Professor Swapna Bhattacharya, whose astute leadership and insightful moderation have guided us through this valedictory session and grace with the wisdom. Her guidance has been instrumental in streaming our discussion towards meaningful insight and conclusions. A profound debt of gratitude is owed to our esteemed speaker, Associate Professor Selva Kumar V, whose illuminating discourse on the approaches to the development of the Bay of Bengal region and Asian interactions has not only deepened our understanding but also inspired us to explore new avenues of research, of collaboration. I am particularly honored to express my sincere appreciation to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Kalyan Kumar Chakraborty, for his enlightening contribution for this concluding remark. Dr. Chakraborty's insight have not also provided a fleeting conclusion to our discussion, but have also inspired us to reflect further on the significance of Bengal Basin and Bay of Bengal. So our collaborative history and future will go together, and we will in future work on that. I extended my heartfelt thanks to all the participants, speakers, chairs and organizers who have dedicated their time, expertise and enthusiasm to make this symposium resourceful and make it successful. Your scholarly contributions, thought-provoking presentations, all are really very, very, very nice, and we all enjoyed each and every presentations. Our collaborative knowledge and fostered meaningful connections across disciplines and borders. We are really happy and thankful to all of you. Because of time constraint, we know that from 3:30 we have another session, and all the stalwart sir and madam from Indology sect, they are waiting. So I will not prolong for this vote of thanks. I would be remiss not to acknowledge the invaluable support of this Anthropological Society of India and its staff, whose tireless efforts behind the screen have been instrumental in brightening this event to the fruitful one. As we bring this symposium to a close, let us carry forward the lessons what we have learned to the leadership front, and we will work on that and hope we will get more articles and more papers on this. On behalf of this Kolkata Society for Asian Studies, I extended my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for this event, for making this event successful, and for your scholarship and for your dialogue. And may the insights gained here inspire future endeavor and pave the way for greater understanding and cooperation in the realm of Bengal Basin and Bay of Bengal interactions. Thank you once again for your participation, your contributions and your dedication to the pursuit of knowledge. Thank you so much. Thanks to all. Namaskar.
Requested to attend